Melody Hossaini, globally leading corporate trainer, speaker, and mindset coach. Founder and CEO of Inspire Engage International. 25 years experience, portfolio in 100 countries, 1 million plus people trained. Clients include PwC, HSBC, The New York Times, KPMG. She holds a law degree from Oxford Brookes University and in 2023 completed a study on neurology and psychology at Stanford University. Through Inspire Engage's pioneering work, they shape leaders, building the human potential technology can't replace. Melody has advised governments in the UK and the USA and is a consultant working on projects in the UK, Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Melody has written for Forbes, The Guardian and HuffPost and appeared on Sky News, CNBC and BBC. As keynote speaker, Melody has spoken at TEDx, the United Nations and Parliament. Melody is a visiting fellow at Birmingham City University and has worked with both Oxford University and Cambridge University. Awarded by King Charles as Woman of Achievement. Awarded by the European Parliament as New European's Most Influential Woman. And awarded Young Global Leader in UAE for contribution in shaping the socio-economic landscape. Melody and her team leverage human potential worldwide.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Melody Hossaini.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that introduction. Excellent. It is such a pleasure being here, and people do ask me, is this your first time in Pakistan? And as the Senator quite rightly said, it is actually my 4th time here in Pakistan, and it's such a pleasure being here. My first time was in Lahore. I came as part of an investor network that I'm part of, supporting innovation and entrepreneurs here in Pakistan. And since then, I have been absolutely captivated by Pakistan, and I've been here quite a few times, and it's always such a pleasure to be here and be surrounded by the hospitality and the innovation that's happening here. So thank you so much, MAP, for inviting me and for having me here. Is the mic okay? You can all hear me okay? Excellent. Because I like to move around. So in this segment that I have with you, allow me to not necessarily do a speech, but to join you in bringing some things to your consideration. But also, I tend to be a little bit of a interactive speaker. So do take from this and allow me to interact with you. So I am CEO of Inspire Engage International. In the many years that I've been doing what I've been doing, we have built a portfolio in over 100 different countries. I myself have been to 67 different countries. So when I say that I'm captivated by Pakistan, it really does mean something. And the fact that it's my 4th time here really shows my excitement to be part of the growth of Pakistan's aspirations. So we've trained over 1 million different people. And really, the activity that we do, let me see if this is... Oh, now we're going a little bit too fast. The activities that we do is corporate training, which is what we're very, very passionate about. It is mindset coaching as well as consultancy. So I'm very excited to be part of this space, and I can see a lot of upward trajectory in what Pakistan is currently involved with. Now, to begin with, I wanted you for a moment to consider who is the most memorable leader you've personally ever experienced. Take a second. I want you just to close your eyes for a couple of seconds and just to think back to your experience of your most memorable leader. What made them stand out? I want you to put your hand up if what made them stand out for you, whoever you have in your mind, was somebody's knowledge. If it was their knowledge, put your hand up. Okay. And put your hand up if your most memorable leader was because of their character, So things like their communication, support, how they made you feel, empathy. Yeah? Okay, a lot more people. That's what today is really about. I'll be speaking about these qualities, these human qualities that make us good leaders and make us memorable leaders. That's what today is about. So, you are all visionary leaders. You're all part of a fantastic conversation about growth in Pakistan. That's exciting. But before you do anything else, you're human beings who lead very rich lives, and you are, first and foremost, a person. So there are three big goals that underline everyone that we work with. And that is for you to be your best, be the best version of yourself that you can be, for you to do your best, which is to fulfill your potential, and finally, this is a really understated goal, is to be happy. So if we can tend to these three goals, then that really drives up productivity. So this really underlines it. Now, I'm going to start by telling you all a frog story. I don't know if you've heard the frog story. I'm going to give you a scenario, and then I'm going to ask you a question. So, lots of frogs at the bottom of a bucket. And they're all saying, how are we ever going to get out of here? This is just too high. We are stuck. What are we going to do? We're never going to get out of here. One little frog from the bottom of the bucket was able to leap up and jump out of that bucket. How was the little frog able to do that? Why was the little frog able to do that? Good, good. That's good. Wouldn't listen. I will actually give you that. The answer is well done. The answer is the little frog was deaf. There will be people who will try and define reality for you. Just too difficult. This has never been done before. This is impossible. There is no fact, actually. It's all about your perception. So sometimes, if you're very clear about what you want to do, sometimes in life, and this has certainly been the case in my career, you have to become a deaf frog. So, there was a study done at Harvard University that found, listen to this, something is 80% more likely to happen if you just write it down. Those are good odds. 80% more likely to happen if you simply write it down. So, everybody in this room, I would love for you now to take out your phone or a paper and write down, this is just for you, you won't be sharing this. I want you to take this opportunity and write down one sentence about what you want. It could be big, it could be small, it could be professional, it could be something private in your personal life. But take this opportunity, I'm going to give you a few seconds, to write down a sentence, what do I want? Because it becomes 80% more likely to happen. So on your phone, on your notes, take a second. Let's do this together. I want to bring this to you in case you're busy the rest of the day. To write down one sentence, what do you want? And while you do that, the question, what do I want, is actually one of the hardest things to answer. Achieving it is second to actually deciding what you want. And the reason that it increases the chances of attaining it by 80% is simply because you decided. So, the world is in transition. We're talking about leading change, that key word change. Change is the only constant thing. Now, I talk a lot about the mindset shift that's occurring as well as the world is changing. We are moving away from profit, simply the bottom line, to purpose. It's a word that was mentioned earlier by the senator and the minister. So we are thinking about, well, hold on, what's the narrative here? What is the purpose that's fueling everything? We are moving away from simply hierarchy models to more network models. Well, that network model is behind successes like Uber, for example. Those are network-based businesses. We're seeing such a growth and use of that model to scale up business. We're moving away from very traditional sense of control to empowering. But, you know, empowerment is one of those soft words. What does it really mean? But if you can underpin empowerment with a really great plan that brings meaning to that, then fantastic. We're moving away from, do you remember lots of time we would spend simply planning to actually experimenting, putting things out there, trying things. We're moving away from a lot of privacy to more transparency. We are living in the world of social media where you can put things out, be transparent. We can connect to people, maybe overshare even, to put things out and get, you know, everybody to mobilize with you. So we are shifting. We're seeing a huge shift in the way people are thinking about growth and business. Now, there is a lot of change coming to companies and teams. So I've shared with you here some really interesting statistics. By 2026, this is very soon, 90% of organizations will face a skills gap. This will cost more than $6.5 trillion worldwide. So you can see some of the impact. There will be 69 million new jobs will be created by new tech and green transition. 1 billion jobs worldwide are likely to be transformed by tech. 83 million jobs will be at risk and displaced by 2030, and 97 million new roles will emerge. So you're not only seeing an evaporation of what was, you're seeing a creation at the same time. So it's not a bad case of worrying about it, but there is a lot of change coming. And what does that mean? We need to get prepared for that change. So what does this emerging change mean for your business and how you lead your team? So this is all part of the strategy every leader now needs to be thinking about. So I'm a fan of stories. I'm going to tell you the story of the farmer, which some of you may have heard, but it's a very important perspective around change. So there was a farmer and his son, and they had a stallion who one day ran away. It ran away, and the neighbors gathered around and said, "What bad luck?" And the farmer said, "Maybe, maybe not." The next day, the wild stallion returned and brought with it lots of wild horses. And again, the neighbors gathered around and they said, "Wow, that's so lucky. What great fortune." And then farmer said, "Maybe, maybe not." The next day, the farmer's son took one of the wild horses out to break him in and fell from the horse and broke his leg. The neighbors, very nosy neighbors, they gathered around again and they said, "What great misfortune." And then farmer said, "Maybe, maybe not." The next day, the army came to the village to recruit all able-bodied men to go and fight in the army, except for the farmer's son because of his broken leg. And so the neighbors said, "That's really lucky." The farmer said, "Maybe, maybe not." Now, it's very tempting to look at change and events that occur as either good or bad, lucky or unlucky. But when you look at uncontrollables, now I want to talk about the mindset of this. When you look at uncontrollables and you focus on the uncontrollable, because truly change is the only absolute guarantee there is, then it paralyzes you from acting and your brain tends to shut down. When you look at the controllables, what you can control, and you're not worried about the label of good or bad, it opens a possibility in your mind and solutions begin to emerge. So this is the time to be bold. This is the time to look at it as an opportunity to create, to shift, and to do what's new. So it is a mindset shift that needs to occur in the mind. My speech is called Creating Leaders That AI Can't Replace. Throughout my presentation, I'm going to come with qualities that this is about. This was about the adaptable leader. Okay, so join me in this quick exercise where I want you, I'm going to test your memory a little bit. We have many intelligent people in the room. I want you, and I'm going to give you 3 seconds, to look around the room. I want you to memorize everything you can see that's red. It could be a piece of clothing, something on the table, something on the floor, anything, right? Look around the room, memorize everything that is red. I'm going to give you 3 seconds. You're then going to close your eyes, okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, close your eyes, close your eyes. Okay, now tell me everything that was green. You see, sometimes the human brain focuses on something and we think we're open-minded. But actually, it is really a purposeful act to intentionally program the mind to be open, to see. Because no matter how innovative we are as human beings, we are still programmed and we are products of our environment, our experiences, our conversations, right? So sometimes in life, we could be focusing on red and not see the green. And it takes an intentional mind to be able to open those eyes. I mean, look, we hear all the time, it's always been that way. It doesn't have to always be any way, right? So you can shake things up, you can create, but it's gonna have to take an intentional purpose of opening the mind to see what it's not programmed necessarily to see. So I'm very, very passionate about mindset. I run a mindset clinic in Dubai. I run my mindset coaching across the world. I'm very passionate about training people to understand the power, and I really want to underline this word, power, that we hold in learning to control our mind, because it changes everything. So here's why I'm passionate about it in a corporate setting. Mindset drives performance and well-being. It's as simple as that. If you work on people's mindset and your team's mindset, of course, it's going to improve your performance, their productivity. Neuroscience. So the brain wiring changes through deliberate practice, and it can be trained. That's the good news. It can be trained. So we call it what fires together, wires together. Marie Forleo, she famously said, it's not science fiction, it is science fact. What you tell your mind, let me do it like this. What you tell your mind, your quality of your thoughts, they shape your beliefs. Your beliefs and what you hold to be true in your brain, it informs behavior. Your behavior creates the total reality of how you see life. And what can be more powerful than that? So, of course, if you can control how you see things, of course you can drive up productivity. Now, positive psychology is really interesting because happy employees, so it's that positive way of thinking, they show a 31% increase in productivity. That's the Harvard Business Review. And also, self-aware teams recover 40% faster from stress. So you can just see how powerful this is for business and productivity. So here's an interesting study that was done that I want to share with you. So there was a tennis academy in Florida that decided to do a study on the difference between the top 5 players in the world versus the top 25 players in the world. They wanted to see what's the difference and why are they producing such wins. Now, was it their coaching? No. Was it their diet? No. What was it? What the study found was that actually it was the way that they think in the 10 seconds that they lose a shot. So the players in the top 5, every time they lost a shot, the quality of their thoughts in that first 10 seconds determined the result. How amazing is that? So what that means is if they lost a shot, thoughts like, it's okay, I'm going to get the next one, or I love this game, anything positive fueled them to recover faster, and actually also on their physicality, they slowed their heart rate so they conserved a lot of energy across the game. So you can see the power of thinking, especially the timing of the thought as well. So what you think matters, but also the timing of what you think matters. So in that first 10 seconds, when you need to recover quickly from a shot being lost, although it could be in a meeting, it could be, you know, a point being lost in some other way, whatever's relevant to your setting. So your thoughts impact energy and how you feel, and therefore the results. So this is the mentally resilient leader. Okay, we all have an internal cup, right? Inside of you, when you wake up in the morning, it's like an empty cup. When something happens, you're stuck in traffic and you're late. The stress of that feels a little bit in your cup. You may get a message from your spouse, frustrating you, stressing you out. It fills the cup. Maybe your child forgot their homework and they're asking you to bring it. You can't, you're going to a meeting. I'm now exposing my own life here. That may, you know, cause you stress. You may go into a meeting and have a conversation with a colleague and feel disappointed by the results. Again, it can fill your cup. When the cup overflows, that is a feeling of an overwhelming feeling that then becomes difficult to control. We want to reduce the risk of it overflowing, right? So you can't pour from an empty cup, but at the same time, you also can't deal with a cup that's overflowing. We have to carefully manage the flow of that energy and our internal cup mindfully. So I want you to think of a stressful work situation you've recently experienced. Just think of it in your own mind. Think of a recent stressful work situation that you experienced. Have that in your mind. As an example, I'm going to use this statement. So whatever you were thinking, try and apply it to your statement. We're behind targets this quarter, okay? Maybe we've all experienced that. So that's the situation. Now, what's your first thought? We're behind targets this quarter. Think of, as a leader, be honest with yourself. You don't need to share it. What's your first thought? What's your first reaction? Think about that. How can you reframe this as an opportunity? Okay, whatever your first thought was, and if I was coaching you one-to-one, we would uncover this. But just do it in your own mind. So whatever your first thought is, it might be, and be honest, it might be, okay, whose fault is this? I need to sit down with whoever has caused this. Or I want to know why. Or reprimanding, or letting go of someone, or team meeting, or whatever it is, okay? How about if we thought of it as an opportunity? We're behind this quarter. Okay, this is our time to innovate. This is a good learnable lesson. What can we do? I want ideas, guys. I want energy. What can we do to innovate? How can we drum up business? Can we go to our contacts? Can we do this? When we look at something as an opportunity, it completely shifts our attitude and the way we interact with it. So neuroscience shows that the brain's threat response shuts down creativity. Imagine that. Your creativity is being shut down when there's a threat response. The brain just shuts down. It can't produce. This is science. However, reframing it as an opportunity, it activates the cortex, the prefrontal cortex that is in charge of problem solving and innovation. So just imagine that you choose to go this way. It opens up the power of the mind to produce. And if you choose to go this way, the threat response, it shuts down creativity just from the quality of your thoughts. Imagine as a leader, if you could embody that, how powerful that could be for your team and what they produce for you. So you can see now why I'm so passionate about mindset, right? So this is the regulated leader. Okay. Are you a happy leader? We don't talk about happiness enough in business. We don't talk about happiness enough actually full stop. In fact, we are all in search of love and happiness, and yet so many executives that I have coached, when I ask them, what's your meaning of happiness? What's your meaning of love? They find it very difficult to define it. And yet, we would all say it's our bottom line, right? So happiness raises productivity by 31%, yeah? So this is important, actually, isn't it? Because if it raises productivity by 31%, Harvard Business Review, then we should pay mind to it. It should be part of our conversation. Now, a couple of years ago, I completed a study at Stanford University on the neurology and psychology and biology of happiness. So this is a subject that I'm extremely interested in. And Martin Seligman has this model. I'm not going to go into depth on it, but it is called the PERMA model. Now, it looks at each of these as a pillar that I would love for you to take away and consider perhaps. So positive emotion is all about acts that basically bring you joy. It could be lighting a candle. It could be listening to music. Engagement is about being immersed in an activity. You know when you're in flow? You know when you're just doing an activity and it's flowing? That's engagement. Relationship is about authentic social relationships that we hold. Meaning is about purpose. And finally, accomplishment is another final pillar of happiness, which is all about you fulfilling your potential and being successful. This is very much part of the training that we deliver because it drives up productivity. If people can be happier, they do better and they're kinder. And kinder environments bring you a much better place to work. So it is very important. Not enough people talk about that. Now, something practical that you can take away for yourself and your teams is the psychology of celebrating small wins. It sounds so simple, but it's so important. Go on a treasure hunt. In fact, the last few minutes before you sleep, that's the most powerful time for you to go on a treasure hunt. Think of this question: what went well today? And play it like a movie in your mind. It programs your brain for the next day while you sleep. And it rewires your brain to look for positives, and it helps you create more of it. And to be honest, it feels good. And what feels good will create more dopamine in your brain. So that's part of the conversation. The happy leader, okay? So we talked about the fourth industrial revolution. We are now going into the fifth industrial revolution. So the fourth industrial revolution was all about automation and intelligence. We saw all of that, the growth of that, unprecedented times. The fifth industrial revolution is about how we as human beings can be more aligned with technological growth. This is an absolute key driver of the era that we're in. And I'm so glad to hear the minister and everybody talking about this, about how important that human capital is as we're growing in technology. So the World Economic Forum talks about the top 10 skills that are absolutely key for businesses to thrive, so 2025 and beyond. And these are the top 10 skills we need. Can you see a trend here? Analytical thinking, I'm not going to read all of it, but you can see resilience, empathy. You're seeing talent management, motivation, self-awareness. How key are these? The World Economic Forum has told us these are the top 10 skills that we need to thrive in 2025 and beyond. So you can see that these skills we're talking about and investing in that human development and human potential is not just a good thing to do, it's an absolute key strategy for every single company. And that's why we are so passionate. And that is why, very shortly, I'm going to be very excited to announce something here. So the leadership gap isn't technological. We are looking at the leadership gap as human. Earlier, the minister talked about the management gap that exists here. So we're talking here about only 16% of organizations say that their leaders excel at empathy and collaboration. That's Deloitte's study, only 16%. And 70% of transformation initiatives fail due to people and culture, McKinsey. So you can see how tied it is to success, to productivity of a company. Okay, I chose this stage to announce Inspire Engage's global launch of our new program called The Human Investor. And I'm so thrilled to be here with you all announcing the launch of our new program, Making Human Potential the Competitive Edge. We have always worked in this space. However, with the launch of The Human Investor, we are now really tackling and putting together the best of everything that we've delivered into this new program to support companies and their teams to be able to scale and to be able to really invest in human potential to impact their growth. So I'm so thrilled to be announcing the launch of that today. So the human investor in the age of AI is an absolute ROI on what we're doing to develop leadership and mindset. And that is ultimately what will define a high-performance culture. And you know, this is basically what we're talking about here is the future belongs to those organizations that put that at the heart of everything that they're doing. Magic happens when you invest in people, but now more than ever. There was an organization in the UK, one of the organizations that I consult for, who had somebody come into the office and say to them, okay, we want you to assess value of our team. And what they came up with was anybody whose job can be done by a robot will be less valuable to anybody who possesses the skills that were listed under the World Economic Forum Top 10, the human skills. And actually, even where the skill is technological, those who have the human skill are still going to be paid more and be more valuable. So it's not just the human skills, it's the human skills that leverage everything else. So there are three segments to this. It is the development of the self, so identity. Identity and narrative is key. I wrote an article for Forbes that said, how often do you ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up? But how often do we ask children, who do you want to be? And the who you are is so much more important than what you do, because you make better decisions when you know who you are. So it starts with the self. Then it's about the collective, so leadership, culture, team dynamics, so creating that high-performance culture. And finally, the tools, the mindset, how can I program my mind? How can I support my team? How can the team take initiative and develop their own mindset tools? So this is about the emotionally intelligent leader. And I'm really thrilled to say as well that as an insights discovery psychometric practitioner, we support teams to be able to bring the psychometric, have the reports in their hand, so they can really understand, not based on fluffy assumptions, but true psychometric science of who they are, how they work, so we can elevate their team's dynamic. So this is about the self-aware leader. And I'm so thrilled in Pakistan that we've been able to work with Al Baraka Bank, Mr. Atif Hanif, who is such an exemplary leader. We've been their training partner for a couple of years, and I'm very proud of the work that we've been able to do with them and others that we're working with. So there's an absolute return on investment when we look at developing people, and you've got some statistics there. Now, I'll finish it off at a minute by saying I can't talk about how we can develop leaders that can't be replaced by AI without speaking about the role of purpose in leadership, okay? You've got here picture of the car and you've got picture of fuel. Now, money is the fuel. There's nothing wrong with money. We need money. But we have to understand the purpose of money. The car is the company, okay? Now, you might have the best car in the world. If the car doesn't have fuel, it's not going to go anywhere, right? Just like you may have the best initiative and the best company. If it doesn't make money, you have to shut it down. However, here's the thing. The purpose of the car is not to buy fuel, right? The purpose of the car is to take you somewhere. Just like the purpose of the company is not to make money, money helps the business to perform its purpose, what it's there to do, provide value. So it's very interesting the way we look at purpose and the way we look at money. And Simon Sinek famously talks about this in his book. So this is the Deloitte study that backs that. Purpose matters. Retention is higher when people feel connected to what they're doing. This is about the purposeful leader. So earlier you wrote a statement that was 80% more likely to happen if you wrote it down. And now I want you just to take a couple of seconds, return to that statement and write one thing for you that you're going to do in achieving that. Take you one step closer to achieving that. So go back to your statement and write one thing you would do to bring you closer to that. 80% more likely to. In my office, I have a wall where I write down my goals in capital letters and stick them on the wall and only take them down when it's been achieved. So I hope you can use this as a technique. So thank you so much for having me. Hopefully we're thinking here about the human qualities that AI can't replace. And I really invite the conversations of how we can support your companies to grow. Thank you so much. Thank you, MAP. Thank you.